Lately, it seems as though Amazon is doing everything in its power to make Americans hate them. And if you were on the fence about whether or not Amazon was one of, if not the shittiest company in the country, this headline should help clear things up for you. Amazon puts 7,000 jobs on hold because of a tax that would help Seattle's homeless population. Wow. Their CEO is the richest man in the world. And they are putting jobs on hold in protest of a tax that would help ameliorate a crisis that they helped cause. Think of how disgusting and morally reprehensible that is. As Think Progress reports, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has more money than he knows what to do with. What Bezos does not want to spend money on at all is helping the homeless population in the city where his company is located. On Wednesday, Amazon announced the company would halt the construction of a new building in downtown Seattle it was planning to build, jeopardizing some 7,000 jobs. Why? Because the company opposes a tax being considered by city council. The tax targets 500 to 600 businesses in the city that gross at least $20 million a year. The companies would be charged a head tax at $500 per employee. In 2021, the head tax would be replaced by a 0.7% payroll tax. The payroll tax would wind up costing Amazon more than the initial head tax, considering Seattle Amazon employees are paid about an average of $110,000 per year, according to data from job reviews site Glassdoor. I can confirm that pending the outcome of the head tax vote by City Council, Amazon has paused all construction planning on our Block 18 project in downtown Seattle and is evaluating options to sublease all space in our recently leased Rainer Square building, a spokesperson for Amazon told the Seattle Times. The City Council is expected to vote on the tax on May 14th. The city estimates that the tax would raise an estimated $75 million annually, with Amazon paying roughly $20 million in 2019 and 2020. One might think for a company that pulled in $1.6 billion last quarter, they could afford to help out the city of Seattle and its most vulnerable residents, especially considering the extent to which Amazon's presence in the city has exacerbated the housing crisis there. Yeah, I mean, you'd think, right? But nope. Anything that hurts their bottom line, no matter how disgustingly rich they are, doesn't matter. Now, there are additional facts that make this story exponentially more infuriating. So, 2 years ago, the city of Seattle, reached a state of emergency where there were 169 deaths related to homelessness. People are literally dying due to homelessness. It's a state of emergency. Amazon doesn't care at all. Their CEO, Jeff Bezos, is worth $130.8 billion. Again, the richest man in the world. Doesn't seem to care. And can you guess how much Amazon paid last year in taxes? $0. Now, that's all awful facts about Amazon, but that's not even taking into consideration the way that they treat their employees, because even if Amazon employees in Seattle make six figures, well, their regular employees, the people who deliver the packages to our doors, they barely survive, and Amazon puts so much pressure on them that some of them are literally carrying pee jugs so they don't stop to use the bathroom. So they're treating these people like robots until they're able to just outright replace them with robots. They have no regard for humanity. They don't care at all about human suffering whatsoever. It's all about increasing profits. It's all about increasing shareholder value and making their CEO even richer than he already is. So what's he going to do with all that money? In a recent interview, the article points out that he said he's going to invest in space tourism. As someone who cares about astronomy and, things that we need to be invested as a species in space travel, why don't you use your money to do something about us here at home on Earth? And see, this whole story gets more absurd when you learn about just how greedy the billionaire class is, because as Time reports, billionaires made so much money last year, they could end extreme poverty 7 times. And yes, that's with money billionaires collectively made just last year. 7 times they could have ended poverty. What did they choose to do? Store that money in bank accounts. So that article goes on to state the global economy created a record number of billionaires last year, exacerbating inequality amid a weakening of workers' rights and a corporate push to maximize shareholder returns, charity organization Oxfam International said in a new report. The world now has 2,043 billionaires after a new one emerged every 2 days in the past year, the nonprofit organization said in a report published Monday. The group of mostly men saw its wealth surge by $762 billion, which is enough money to end extreme poverty 7 times over, according to Oxfam. According to separate data compiled by Bloomberg, the top 500 billionaires' net worth grew 24% to $5.38 trillion in 2017. While the world's richest person, Amazon.com CEO Jeff Bezos, saw a gain of $33.7 billion. And can you guess what contributed to their wealth last year? The tax breaks we gave them. We live in a really, really sick world where people are so greedy. They have no regard for human life. They don't care about human suffering whatsoever. All they care about is amassing an amount of money so large they're never going to be able to spend it. I don't care how much you invest in space tourism, Jeff Bezos. You're never, ever going to be able to spend that much money. So the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And really, that's an oversimplification because the poor are getting really, really poor. People are dying from homelessness, and the rich are getting absurdly rich. It's insane. It's absurd. If you wonder why people are gravitating away towards capitalism and why it's losing popularity, it's because of stories like this. Capitalism, unfettered capitalism more specifically, it allows these rich assholes like Jeff Bezos to become so rich they couldn't spend all the money that they have if they tried to. I mean, if you had $1 billion right now, how could you possibly spend all of that money? If you tried, it would be extremely difficult to do that. Human beings do not need that much wealth. They just don't. So the correct response, since billionaires are doing so well, is to take that money from them, redistribute their wealth that they don't need, and give it to people who need it. But you see, we have socialism in this country, but it's reverse socialism. You know, it's this principle of reverse Robin Hood, really, where we take from the poor and give to the rich. Because what did Donald Trump's tax plan do? It raised taxes over 10 years on poor people who make less than $75,000, whereas it cut taxes for the wealthy. Those tax breaks that he gave to you and I, they expire. Those tax breaks that he gave to rich people like Jeff Bezos, they're permanent. So we already have socialism. Wealth is being redistributed from the poor to the rich. And when we dare to bring up this idea about taking their money and giving it to people who need it, we're called extremists. We're called radical. It's immoral for him to have that much money. Just by him simply having that much money, that makes him a bad person if he's not doing anything about it. If you can cure hunger, if you can end extreme poverty and you're not, you are a bad person, because when you have that much money, you have a responsibility to take care of those less fortunate, but they're not doing it. So all of his money should be taken. Take this greedy pig's fortune, take it away, redistribute it to the people who need it. He doesn't need $130 billion. Leave him with $500,000 and he'll be okay. He'll do just fine. That's what I think should happen. With how greedy they are, I don't think that we should resist our urge to be equally greedy when they're just, basically, they're so rich that they're flaunting it now. They're getting brazen about how much they hate the poor that they don't even want to do anything that would cost them a fraction more if it means helping out Seattle's homeless population. It's disgusting.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.